killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull.
There will be an island. Not the first, but the last. This place will seem to be a hope for our kind. Then burn that place to the ground.
Hey, True Believers, Chris Mack coming at you with something a little bit different today. I know we normally go over movies and whatnot on this channel. However, Jonathan Hickman is getting ready to wrap up his run on X-Men, and I'm actually excited for Inferno. Not for the fact that it's a big, major event, but the fact, for those of you that have been reading comics, since, probably about 2016, 2017, Fox and the MCU did not didn't get along very well, and they tried to downplay the X-Men. The MCU had the Inhumans, and if you all remember, there was an uptick in the Inhuman comics. So I felt during this time period that the X-Men were done dirty, especially since they were the ones, along with Spider-Man, that carried Marvel through the 90s, the 2000s, because they were their big books. So when House of X and Powers of 10 were announced almost 2 years ago, give or take, it was a fresh idea with the comics. Because, the X-Men were going to be leaving the Xavier Institute. There was this time-traveling era where Moira McTaggart is a mutant. But everything felt a little off. And you're thinking, okay, is this the X-Men we know? Are these pod people? We haven't really got a lot of information on that other than the fact that mutants can essentially not die because they can be reborn. But as I just said, it goes back to, are these the X-Men we know? And it was a great idea. But what killed it after that is then they released all the titles, and we're getting excited. And I'll be perfectly frank here. None of the books that came out were interesting. I think the only two that were really worth a damn, in my opinion, were Benjamin Percy's Wolverine and his X-Force title. I tried reading X Factor, which we've done a review over. Just very bland. The X-Men book itself, bland as well. And same with New Mutants, etc., so forth. These didn't feel like the X-Men that were established back in the Chris Claremont era, going into the Fabian Nicieza, the Jeff Loebs, the Rob Liefeld eras. This did not feel anything like that. These felt like separatists. And so to have these mutants that don't have compassion no more and feel more militaristic and separatist, these were not the X-Men that spoke to us growing up. If you recall in the pages of Uncanny X-Men, when Ileana is going to die at the mercy of the techno-organic virus, Jubilee is terrified for her, and she's afraid to talk to her. It takes Jean kind of explaining what death is and how to accept it and to celebrate the time that she's still here on Earth and to let her memory live on. It's a very poignant issue. I'll make sure to leave a card up where you guys can read the review I did on it. But in taking death away, it lost a lot of the empathy and the soul of what the X-Men encompassed. If you watch the documentary on Amazon Prime called Chris Claremont's X-Men, he was talking about how he was speaking to a lady in New York, and she said her husband didn't really approve of her reading the comics for religious reasons, and he said that until they get older you can read them, but when they start reaching a certain age, you need to get rid of them.
And she was heartbroken because these were her friends, and she was facing a future where she would be unable to follow their lives, not their adventures, their lives. As a creator, as a writer, as a person, I have to make the characters and the stories worth that commitment.
With this House of X and Powers of 10, after that, it felt like everything was overhauled. Nobody has felt the way they were supposed to for years. And being a long-time reader, that broke my heart. And seeing how Cyclops Jean. They don't have that compassion or empathy that they used to have. Same thing with Xavier or Moira, who used to be kind of an emotional center for Xavier, is now in the belly of Krakoa, saying that they won't bring back certain mutants, telepaths, precogs. So to see all this stuff, you're just like, what is going on? You guys are sounding more like Genosha. If you're not sure what Genosha is, go back and read the Extinction Agenda and how they used mutants as slaves. So you're thinking, what the fuck is going on with our X-Men? Now, building up to Inferno, especially if you read Percy's Wolverine, he talks about how he tries to avoid being on Krakoa a lot because of the bureaucracy, the secrets. And it accumulates if you read Way of X #1, where Nightcrawler notices how death, it makes him question their rebirth cycle, because there's a character called Pixie in issue 1, which we've gone over. Again, I'll leave a card up there in the thing for you guys to click, where she says certain things at the beginning of the book, and her friends are peer pressuring her to die. And she's like, I don't feel the need to die. And they said, oh, don't be such a sissy. You'd be immortal like one of us. And so she goes up to like this robber or something to that degree, and they shoot her point blank in the face. By the end of the issue, she's reborn. Nightcrawler asks her a question that he had asked her before her death, and she doesn't remember it. So that issue leaves off making you wonder, are we really the people that die and are reborn, or are we just pod people? And a lot of people have brought this up with the X-Men, saying that this does not feel the way it should. And then it all kind of accumulates. If you haven't read X-Men #20, surprisingly, very well, or should I say well-read book, or good issue, however you want to say it. Magneto and Xavier send Mystique on a mission. She has to take out Nimrod, because in Powers of 10 and House of X, Nimrod is kind of this imposing threat of the future that can kill off mutants, which is shown through Moira reliving several different timelines. The way that they kind of kick her, kind of give her the carrot to go, is they say, if you do this, we'll bring back your lover, Destiny. Needless to say, the mission goes foobar. She comes back and she goes, what about our deal? And they go, what about it? And that's Xavier and Magneto just not caring. You would never see Charles Xavier like this. Think back to after the death of Iliano. Xavier carries this burden on himself. Or even, let's go further, back to the 80s during the Legion arc, when he finds out that David Haller is his son. He feels this new weight of responsibility of being a father and how to fix his fragmented son. Now, come all the way up here into 2021, Xavier has none of that. He walks around like he's the king ding-a-ling of the mudball. That's not the Professor Charles Francis Xavier that we know. Now, getting back to Inferno, as we just saw at the beginning of the trailer, I'm with Destiny. I want to see Mystique burn all this shit to the ground. The X-Men need a renaissance. I'm hoping that with Jonathan Hickman leaving the X-Book and with burning Krakoa to the ground, that maybe we might see something new. I'm not going to hold my breath, because it seems like a lot of new writers don't understand that at the base of any character, whether it be Batman, the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Avengers, it's character-driven drama. If you don't care about your protagonist, then your movie, your TV show, your film, your comic, your book is going to fail. And if you go back and read some of these titles, they just feel superficial with pop culture jokes and LOL so random jokes. That's not the X-Men. Yes, Claremont's run is not perfect, so for those of you that think I'm a purist, I understand there are some issues where you're just kind of like, wow, that was weird. But at least you knew the core characters' traits and at least cared enough to go on the adventure. So that's my thoughts on the X-Men Inferno trailer. I'm hoping that we're going to get something new and exciting out of burning this island to the ground. Last thing I will mention, I've never trusted Krakoa, because if you go back and read Len Wein's on Giant Size X-Men #1 that kicked off the new Claremont era back in the 70s, Krakoa was feeding off the original team. Hence why Xavier had to go across the globe and get Nightcrawler, Storm, Thunderbird, Wolverine, etc., so forth. So to see them trying to harness Krakoa now, I see the writing on the wall in terms of ulterior motives from the sentient being. But let me know what you guys think about Inferno, Dawn of X, House of Powers of 10 and House of X. I'd like to hear all your thoughts, all your theories, and once issue 1 comes out, we'll definitely review it over on our main channel. So I want to say thank you guys so much for stopping by, checking out this different idea, and let me know what else you'd like to see over here on the After Dark channel. Would you like to see interviews with local creators? Do you want to see more movies? Do you want to see more comic trailers like this? Your feedback is very valuable, and I love to just know what y'all would like to see. So with all that said, I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day, both reading and watching film. And I hope to catch y'all on the next video, and I'll check you on the next one, True Believers.